Hello, welcome. We're here for the full Grand Prix race at the Paul Ricard circuit. It's time for qualifying for the French Grand Prix, the inaugural one in Sunday League Virtual. Our first taste of action on this track was the sprint race just an hour and 45 minutes ago. If you haven't watched that, go and watch it. It was a thrilling battle right up to the line, ran in full wet weather conditions with 0 pit stops for anyone. So absolutely enthralling to see the drivers. You might have had a good indication of how the drivers will perform in this race from that, but we'll have a look first just quickly through the good old-fashioned cars. There we go. Team overview and upgrade progression. Looking at the upgrade progression first, you can see in the bottom left of your screen, BFX and VLO are two heavyweights from last season. Both succeed speed that massively boosts their index scores. WTEC fail both. KRT fail a speed plus 10 but get their turbo. BAV, as they're known as now, British Aerial Virtual, get an acceleration upgrade that will help them out pretty significantly around a track that does have a lot of slowing down zones. And its acceleration for THX failing speed plus 10. PRG, SFR, FVR and FUR fail all of their upgrades. Looking at the team index now, of course, BAV currently lead the Constructors' Championship. BFX 20 points in tow behind them. Sobel leading the drivers, but you have to take into account that his teammate has not been performing quite up to the standard that you might expect of such a magnificent driver. The index score is really interesting. BAV the best car, VLO second. We'll have a look now how qualifying went for the drivers. It's Jake Brad on pole position. Hetmanica will line up on the front row for Porsche, I believe their highest ever qualifying as the Porsche Racing Group. Rito will start in third place, Grandi in fourth. They both had strong performances in the sprint, but Antti, our sprint winner, will only start from fifth. Sixth is Sobels, then the Velocities lock out the fourth row. Bluebell Boy ahead of his teammate Kubo. Goose then ahead of Urist, 9th and 10th for the sleepover buddies. Julo and Girouni 11th and 12th. The WTECs on the 7th row, not great for them. Their car maybe not quite adept to this track, unlike some others, with their podium, of course, last time out with Spuda. Hernandi, 15th place for the Nuri Racing team, 16th for Pit Crew, and 17th for Vladinator. Very similar, a lower order of the grid as to what we saw in the sprint. A hugely suboptimal performance from Vladinator when his teammate appears to be quite fast this weekend. Kamikaze, head of Apple Amazing, and his teammate Ikoloski lines up from last. Looking at the tokens is what we will be waiting to see. Rito spends 2 today. He starts from 3rd position. Sobel spending none, starting in 6th. Very respectable still. That speed upgrade really helps them out. Kubo, no tokens for him. He'll start in 8th place. Only a position behind his teammate, spending 2 for Bluebell this weekend. Neither for either of the WTECs. 0-0 for them. They'll start, as previously mentioned, 13th and 14th. Hernandi using 2 tokens today. That hasn't paid off hugely for him. He starts from 15th position on the grid. Apple Amazing starting in 19th, using none. Jake using 2 takes pole position for the main race this weekend. Urist using none, only 10th for him. Hetmanica spending 2 tokens, puts his car on the front row. That may be his best ever qualifying, I think, to my knowledge, or maybe tied with Sepang in season 2. No, he had a poor quali there, so I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to look that up. Grandi in 4th place, spending 3 tokens, none for Pit Crew, none for Vlad, but 4 for Antti. He'll be looking to make up some positions, win the main race as he did the sprint, and set the record for the most points ever taken by a driver in a single weekend by winning the sprint, winning this race, and of course setting the fastest lap of the race. He's able to score 32 points over the course of 1 round. Then we've got lower down, Goose is our last token spender, 3 for him. He starts only 9th place, but made up some positions from that very same grid slot in the sprint. Girouni, Kami and EK, their low starts explained by tokenless spends. We're ready to go here. If I quickly may, just a little look at the drivers' standings. Sobel 63, Jake on 59, Spuda and Urist, who neither of them looking for very good races this weekend, most probably. Third and fourth, same with Andres and Julo, Kubo and Vladinator. Then Anti looking to make up some places from ninth, only a fastest lap to his name. As it stands, the SFR team not having stood on the podium since Kyalami at the end of Season 1. Pretty incredible to think about that, where they took their only win as a team. Constructors, BAR lead by 20 points. We know this all already. They've had first, second and third all in the hands of Jake Brad. His teammate Urist has finished 5th in every single race so far. That's pretty impressive in my opinion. Let's go. Race time, baby. Drivers lined up on the grid. It's a dry start for them all. We're underway here at Paul Ricard. Grandy dives the outside of Rito immediately. Het looking to defend from Rito for second place. Rito going to sneak round the outside into the double right-hander. That's a great overtake. He's already swarmed in for second place. Anti looking to make up some positions. He's on the mediums. Soft runners ahead of him. Hard runners behind. Rito putting pressure on the race leader. Down into the right-hander. He takes the lead in the race from Jake Brown, who started from pole but has immediately been taken by the fast starting pole. Anti up in third, Hetmanica being swarmed somewhat by Sobel and Goose, who's already made up 3 positions off the start. Bluebell, then it's Urist and Grandy, Kubo and Spuda, Julo, and then Hanandi, Kamikaze, Koloski, and all those behind Andres down with Vladinator in the final positions, the top 3 as they were. Urist now putting some pressure on Hetmanica. Anti trying to close in on Jake Brad. We've got up and down the order fights here in the opening laps, and we're going to have some a little bit more here as we go through. The right-hander, Sobel on the outside of Bluebell. Spuda looking to take positions off both of them if he can. Send it into the penultimate corner. Who's going to lose out here? It's Sobel down to 10th place. Might lose another position after fighting up there for 7th. Not great for him. Jumping back, his teammate in the lead. Anti's taken second place off Jake. This might not be a second consecutive win for the Brit, who took his first victory last time out around the streets of the Principality. Jake running in third at the moment. Hetmanica still a respectable 4th, looking for his first podium since he won the Malaysian Grand Prix last season. Urist and Goose doing pretty well. Julo and a big pack behind him. It's Bluebell, it's Spuda, it's Grandy. Bluebell needs to just stick it in there. Grandy's going to go up the inside of both of them if he can. That's an amazing overtake, just as he did in the sprint. He's got another fantastic move here in the main race and just got the drag into turn 1, ducked up the inside, and we love to see overtaking manoeuvres just like that. Goose putting pressure on Urist as it is. He's still chasing down Hetmanica, not able to make any headway just yet. Rito followed by Anti and Jake. Het, Urist and Goose are top 6. The top 6 scored points in the sprint. The top 10, of course, score it in the main race. All pretty close up front at the moment. We'll have a little look down into midfield. Julo still battling away from Grandy. Julo's not spending any tokens this weekend, but he's had a really good start on the mediums. Grandy, though, will pass him on his hard compound tyre. Anti and Jake fighting now down into the sweeper. Jake goes up the inside, takes second place back off the fin, and Jake, as he gets through the last couple corners, has his eyes set on our reigning champion of Sunday League Virtual, the man right up ahead in that very famous military green and purple car, the BFX. Anti back up the inside though, might be the cork in the bottle for Jake Brad's plans here. Jake back up the inside into the chicane. This track, I think one of its main credits is the fact that it has a really good amount of straight before a braking zone. It creates pretty boring racing in real life, but with the amount of power difference that some of the cars can have in AI races, particularly in Sunday League Virtual, it creates really good side-by-side action and overtaking opportunities coming into these sort of medium speed chicanes. Jake right up to the back of Rito. Anti gets him at the exact same place as he did last lap. Can Jake have a good run back at him? He's closing, he's closing, he's closing. They're 3 abreast coming into the corner. We're gonna have a bit of rain, but Anti's looking to get back into the lead before we have that, and he is now in the lead of the main race itself. Jake looking to cause further problems for Rito as they all file in. Rito has to back out there. They wind their way through the sort of bus stop-esque chicane on the way into the pits. Rito's on the wets, Jake's on the inters, and Anti also takes the wets. Absolutely fascinating split strategy. It's going to rain way more. Really bad for poor Jake Brand, who will have a speed advantage for the time being, but will be looking to close in on Anti, make the most of those inters while they're still in the operating window, round the outside, right at the right-hander. That is a place where you need huge bollocks to actually make an overtake, and he's done it right there. Found the grip on the intermediate. The wet's not up to temperature just yet, not enough standing water for that to happen. The track's going to dry. Jake, Commie and EK, the Fuerza Rojas, for whatever reason, both taking the intermediates, and this could play exactly into their hands because the weather marker is just about to move. It's going back into the drier territory. Jake needs to hold on for just a couple laps, maybe only a lap of pain as Anti breezes back round the outside. But it won't be long before his tyres are perfectly back within an operating window for him to maybe make up some more positions before everyone files into the pit lane on their worn, wet weather tyres. Should be really, really interesting to see Rito putting some pressure on now. And that will be really cool. EK going slowly through the middle sector. Rito back up and through that corner that I've been talking about a lot. Can't particularly seem to find it. Whatever. Right, we've got a battle on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Anti running away in the lead of the race. Rito having been held up by Jake for the time being. That's allowed Anti a little bit of a gap. There's less standing water on the track right now, so that should be pretty good for the intermediate runners. Anti followed by Jake, followed by Rito, followed by Jake. Then it's Urist who's made his way up into 4th position already. He's not spending any tokens today, remember, just as he did last time around, and he got 5th position. We'll have another little flick up of the token spend for you to take a look at, and it's correct, Urist using none this weekend. Sobel also using none. High at the start, now down to 10th place, and not great for him. Julo using none in what is not as good a car, particularly. Really interestingly, still hanging on in the top 8 there. Grandy using 3, be hoping to make up some positions from 7th place. Goose the same from 6th, and Anti will be very happy that his 4 tokens have immediately thrust him out into the lead. He's going to be looking to take the victory in both races. The pits are coming. Bluebell, Spooner, Sobel, Kubo, Giroudi, Goose and Bluebell have all come in, and we've got our front lot coming in now. Anti has a humongous gap to Jake and Rito, who have swapped positions again right at the end as the track was drying up. Jake's inters coming into effect. Might get a little bump from Urus, not quite there, but they're battling it out now. Hards for Jake, mediums for Rito, and it's going to be the soft for Anti. They work their way through the first chicanes of the track, and that's fascinating to see. Hetmanica, Goose and Julo running in the sort of lower positions inside the top 10. 6th, 7th and 8th for them currently. Actually, Grandy was up there, may have been a slight error with the checkpoints, but we've still got a fight on here. Looks like Jake was thrown into the wall back there. Not sure we might have missed that, but Urus getting through as well. That's fascinating to see. I think Jake must have had a huge collision. Have to watch that back on the tapes because that looked pretty hefty for the British driver, who now takes a position back off his teammate. Surely a little bit of team order going on at BAV, British Aerial Virtual here, because it's just looking like Jake needs to be able to make the most of his 2 tokens and the fantastic car underneath him. Urus being now more so held up. Jake right at the back of Rito once again takes that position going through the first sector and is looking to absolutely run away, but he is currently on the hard, which is the slower compound of tyre. Rito's mediums, of course, slightly more worn, less durable tyre. Urus putting some pressure on the pole now, and he gets ahead of him even before they go through seam. The right-hander at the end of that second long straight. The BAVs running 2nd and 3rd currently. Anti still occupying the lead of the race. Hetmanica in 5th position, looking to chase down Rito if he can. He is flying out there on those soft compound tyres. Lap times looking pretty good. I think Anti was held up a bit on that last lap though. 34 seconds for Rito, 36 for Goose. They're starting to fall off all a bit there. Julo putting in some decent times, 34s for him, 34s for Bluebell. Sobel slightly slower. Anti-slow first, still as they were in the top section of the track. Grandy looking on for a very strong 7th place, because ThunderX only took their first points of the season last time out at the Monaco Grand Prix. I believe it was Pit Crew putting himself in the points, and Grandy, as he dives up the inside of Apley and overcooked that way too much in the corner, carried way too much speed, and that's not at all going to help him out. But they only got their first couple points of the season last time around, and it's going to be a uphill struggle for them to try and reach the same heights that they did initially at the start of Season 1, dominating the constructors until the big BFX team that we know and love today took over that fight. Rito led the championship right up to the final round, where one man, Eurus, the man we're on board with right now, the man who's just moved himself past his teammate, they still battle. Through seam they go. Jake on the inside will take the position back, but Eurus is looking very feisty. He wants to just try and overtake into every single corner at the moment, looking to make the most of those mediums before they go off the boil. We reach the switchover points between the mediums and the hards. Anti is into the lane. He'll emerge out just a little bit behind Rito. The limiter comes late at this track, so even as they breeze past the pit exit there, Anti's still not quite up to full speed. Rito looking to have a go on Eurus now. Makes that nice and easy work. Medium tyre against medium tyre. Gets him into the chicane. Anti will be the big factor though. He'll have really good grip on those softs. Look how much time he gains through this final sector, closing up to the back of Eurus. Eurus skidding his tyres all over the place. Neither of the medium runners into the pit lane. Anti at the final corner makes a very clean sweep back up the inside. Eurus gets good traction with the straight line speed on that car. Hetmanica into the pit lane. He was a sort of last hope of somebody looking to challenge the top 4, but it looks like they're in pretty much a league of their own at the moment. 8.2 seconds, now 9 seconds behind to Goose. Anti has another obstacle in his way. Rito on the mediums. The soft is an interesting strategy because it's just sort of more of an undercut on the mediums, but the hard is totally alternate to it. So you can't bank on any sort of thing, as we see Anti getting past down the main straight there. A really nice exit for him as we're nearly at the halfway mark of this race. Jake Brad's still running out in the lead on those hard compound tyres, and he will be coming in a few laps before Anti-Softs, but not a whole lot, so you might be looking at an undercut here from Jake if he can hold up the finished driver. Will be interesting to see. He's still got some life left in those hards, but I fear Anti may get a very good exit down this straight. That could propel him, but he doesn't. He doesn't, and he goes wide at the exit of the final corner. Kicks up some dust with those tyres. Rito looking back at Eurus into town while battles everywhere we look at the moment. Rito into 3rd place. Jake has been passed by Anti, who takes the lead of the race. Jake still has an opportunity to come back at him if he can. He's slipping further. It's 4.755 now. The amount of hundredths of seconds between himself and the man leading the Grand Prix. Anti-Softs, still a bit of life left in them. Jake will do well to get into the pit lane as early as he can before he gets bogged down fighting the 2 drivers behind him, who both now are on the mediums into the pit lane. Very, very solid stints for the both of them. Rita takes the medium once again. Eurus takes the hard, and the drive behind, which is Goose, into the pits too. It's Goose versus Hetmanica, best of friends in real life, but there'll be big rivals out on the track today. Anti 1.4 ahead of Jake, still yet to come in to the pits, looking more like a 2-horse race for the victory now. Jake is in this lap. We'll have to see, can he get the gap between himself and Rito? Looks like it'll be pretty easy as he takes that the middle pit box he gets from finishing 5th in the Constructors last season. As Rito exits the final corner, Jake is already going through the first sector, but we do have some rain on the way. Poor Jake, he'll have to come into the pits once again, and Anti has been saved a pit stop. Anti, in real life, and it seems in the virtual leagues, loves running that alternate strategy just to try and benefit off the rain he's in now. What could Jake do about this? If I was Jake, I might be tempted to stay out, but it seems in simulation races, in non-online races, the rain tends to stick around just that little bit longer. He files his way into the pit lane now. They're all putting on the inters, but Jake has a enormous gap to make up, and it is the fake rain, and it would have been better for him to not put on any form of wet weather tyre. The track immediately going to dry up now as we get out of the rain conditions, right into the clouds. Barely any standing water to be seen, and Jake would have massively benefited of not going into the pit lane there. He'd probably himself be about 7 seconds ahead of Anti currently. Jake should come in this lap though, and Anti hasn't. So that's a really interesting dynamic. Jake isn't in. That's fascinating. It's Rito, yes. This could be the undercut that Rito needs, and Eurus, who also comes in but is just that little bit behind him as it stands. Anti and Jake still out on those wet weather tyres, and they're going to be struggling. Not much straight line speed those give you, and they're going to just be going as slowly as they can through this final sector. But Anti, to be fair, still has some pace through the sweepers where you can let those worn tyres, those gripless tyres, kick out a little bit more. Anti covered off by Sobel. Is he going to be able to get into his box? Oh, he has to do a full spin and go all the way backwards, face his teammate. That's a big time loss for him. The SFR's head to head, nose to tail in the pit box, and Sobel has inadvertently thrown a bit of a spanner into the works here, because that gap was 8.5 seconds, now just over 4. Anti, of course, spending his 4 tokens today. Jake only spending 2. But Jake is in a vastly superior car. Anti, the race leader, has had a huge issue here. And just as it was looking all peachy for him, is going all the way backwards across the track. And that pit stop that we thought he got away with has not turned out so great for him. He's parked the car just before the entry to the chicane, and Anti is out of the French Grand Prix from the lead of the race. Huge drama. We thought that he was able to get away with that little pit error there, but Sobel, who blocked his entry into the lane, has absolutely thrown it up. He had a huge lead. It was 8 seconds after the pit misdemeanor, still about 5, but he's going again now. That's lost him no end of time, as he's now put himself back into the middle pack, and there's no guarantee he won't have further issues. It does seem like, however, he's just resolved them, and it's taken a lap of running. We'll have a look at Jake Brad through the chicane, and Anti's charge for the lead of the race is all but over. The rain is coming back again, and it's caused no end of drama so far in this race. Anti, again, is down to 14th place. Is he having more issues? No, I think he's just got a little bit of a checkpoint error. Jake into the pits he goes. Rito right behind him. Another bit of split strategy. Really great to see. It might have actually been a recent update to the game, because the AI previously never fancied a split strategy at tracks like this. But Jake, or at any track for that matter, but Jake out on the inters, Rito on the wets. He's the only runner all the way down to Apple Amazing and Kamikaze who's taken the wet weather tyre. Is that going to prove to be the right one? Will the weather go away? Will it intensify? We should find out pretty soon. It's going to go away pretty quickly. The inters once again proving to be the right call, and Rito will not enjoy the lack of grip that he's experiencing out on those tyres. Third place runner is currently Eurus. He was looking maybe off the podium today, but getting no token podium, I don't think it's something that's ever been done before in Sunday League Virtual. Remember, he scored 19 points in Kyle Army at the end of Season 1. That's a P2 and fastest lap, spending just 1 token. But the current highest finishing position for anyone spending 0 tokens is Vlad0204, rest in peace, now down to Challenge League Virtual. Getting P4 in Turkey last season. Jake's extended another lap. That's really stupid. Rito's into the lane. Eurus has extended as well. The pit strategy is absolutely bizarre for the BARs. What was a race that's taken a while to heat up has really heated up now, as we see a big gaggle of cars coming into the pits right there. Pit crew running in 20th place at the moment. Jake Brad and Eurus, who's already been passed by Rito, who's on a warpath. It was 7 seconds. The gap now just down to 5. Will Rito's undercut allow him to steal this win off Jake Brad? Jake reaches the pit exit. Rito's undercut puts him into the lead on lap 33 of 44. What an absolutely enthralling race we're having at the moment. But Jake does have the superior car. Checking the token spendage, if we can, just very quickly as they wind their way through the final sector. Jake on 2, Rito also on 2. But if you look at the team overview, you can clearly see Jake with a 4.7 index score on his car. BFX 3.7. Jake using that extra speed, using that extra grip, using that extra acceleration, and he's put himself up into the lead of the race once again. A bad strategy call essentially destroyed Yura's chance of taking P2, what should have been P4 initially, or P3 for him, before our fastest lap holder, the Anti-Amazing, or just Anti for short, had a huge issue and essentially was stuck for half a lap parked up at the chicane before he was able to get that car going again. That was all caused by a pit stop misdemeanor blocked off from his box by none other than Sobel, currently running pretty far down the order. He's in 9th place at the moment, so still currently on to score some points, but we've got to fight for the lead once again. It's Rito, it's Jake Brad, it's just as it was in Turkey. They go through Scene, they go through the sweeper. Jake still keeps the position. Could Rito try a move into one of the very tight and technical corners? It might be very difficult for him. If he can get a good exit, he doesn't through here. Taking a look at the team overview just one more time, and you can clearly see the BAV stats: 5 speed, 4 acceleration, 4 grip, and the 1 turbo. It's 4, 3, 3, and 1. They're down by 1 on every single stat bar turbo. 1.0 on the index score overall, but Rito does not care. He's got the grit. He is a world champion in this sport, and he's looking to take back that title this season. Enter Rito for SLV3. It has been a pretty disappointing start to the season, but through a bit of luck and a bit of skill and some really good driving so far, he's gotten himself into contention. Jake sweeps him wide on the outside of the double right-hander, and that's immediately put him another 7/10 back from the BAR car. This is going to be a very intense battle. Who blinks first, essentially? I'd call one of them into the stop. Probably this lap or next. It'll be interesting to see if one went over, one went under in terms of the pits. Jake stays out, Rito does too. They might be coming in about a lap's time, because 6 laps on the softs is a pretty optimal stint. You'll be going quite fast. Jake Brad, as discovered in Monaco, taking that strategy of going for an extra stop at the end when he was in a very tight battle with Spuda and Kubo, of course, the Team Velocity driver, discovers that the softs, despite that stop, could really make you up some time. Kubo went for the hards, which prevailed until lap 57 of 60, finally allowing Jake to get through. Jake pulls the undercut on Rito, stays up for another lap, in a bit of traffic as well. I mean, we'll have to see where Jake emerges from all of this. Might even be behind his teammate. No, they've come in for a double stack at BAR, but the car's far enough apart that they don't get any particular negative effect. This could be a huge undercut for Jake, because he's only about 3.8 back from Rito. He's immediately running into issues more and more. Bluebell, the team owner, driving his teammate last season. They finished first and second in the driver's standings. They finished first in the constructors together. Bluebell driving for another team. Rito stayed out again. What is he doing? It looked like a sure win, a surefire win for Rito, but Bluebell having held him up, and Rito doing himself no favours. He's immediately been caught through there, and Kubo gets a penalty, I think, for a collision with Sobel. They're currently fighting. Are they? No, Kubo's a lap down on Sobel. Jake clears Hernandi. The gap is just 2 seconds. Rito has only about 4 laps left in this race. It'll be 3 by the time he reaches the end of this lap. Uris, who did pit, is... I don't know where he is. But Jake is right up to the back of Rito, who goes wide and doesn't pit again on lap 40 of 44. What is he doing? America up into the podium positions. Can he take his first at Sepang with 2 tokens for the Porsche driver today? Or will it be Urist being the first ever driver to take a podium, spending 0 tokens? Grandy into the pit lane behind. He's had a race-long battle with the likes of Goose and Het, but up in the lead, it is Jake, it is Rito, who now has been passed by Eurus, and can we see a second or a third ever 1-2 for a team in Sunday League Virtual? Eurus taking second place here, Rito still not into the pit lane. Something must have gone wrong with the BFX strategy. They think it's too late now to come in for tyres. But look at the time he's losing. His last lap was a 39.12. Eurus was a 32.10. Rito may gift a podium to America here. Het's teammate Julo coming up behind, and Het himself going through scene on lap 42 here. Jake looks to have the win in his palm for the second race running, and looks so well in Anti's favour, but the Finn running in 7th, never really able to recover from that huge early issue he had with the pit box. Jake, who battled Spooner last race, coming up to put a lap or maybe 2 on him, I think, at the moment. Eurus in second, and Hetmenica is now ahead of Rito. His last lap was a 41.30. That is 9 seconds per lap slower than his previous best times. At this rate, he's probably on course to be fighting with Anti come the end of the race. But BAR, for all of their faults at times, BAV I should say, I've got that wrong all race, in their last ever race as British Aerial Racing before making the step up to Sunday League, they took victory at Monaco. In their first ever race as British Aerial Virtual, the virtual division team, they're going to take another win, and it's Jake Brad for the second race running who wins the French Grand Prix. It is a 1-2 finish, and Eurus, spending 0 tokens today, will come home in second place. Hetmenica will take his first podium of the season, Porsche's first podium in their time as a team, having only joined this season. Rito in 4th, runs wide again. Grandy up the inside, as is Goose. Into 6th place he goes now. He's only got a couple corners left to negotiate, but we'll see this final lap time. Jake comes up to lap him to add insult to injury. It is 11.5 seconds slower. So nearly caught indeed by Anti, who's coming through the final sector now and had the win all in his hands. And it's just not turned out that way for the Finnish driver. He will be classified 7th no matter what the results screen says, because he did in fact finish there. He's doing a little bit of celebratory donuts just at the end. Has he been doing those all race long? Because if he has, that probably explains why he wasn't able to make up any ground. He will come home in 8th. Bluebell Boy a little bit ahead of him. Jake and Eurus for British Aerial Virtual will take a 1-2 in France. Hetmenica on the podium as well. What a race. What a race. What a race. Grandy for Thunder X taking 12 points. That's huge for them. The team, with only a handful so far this season, make a big statement. Grandy spending 3 tokens. Boy oh boy did it work. He's ahead of Goose, who the two of them just getting Rito coming onto the final sector, the final lap. The man who should have been fighting for the lead chose not to stop a second time for the softs. Instead took them about 14 laps, was lapping 9 seconds per lap slower at the end. And will finish 35 seconds off the man who he was once fighting. Bluebell will take 7th, Anti in 8th with the fastest lap. He will be devastated, absolutely devastated, to have that long issue in the pits, have the issue coming out of the pits, have to go in, turn the wrong way, park up by the chicane and finally get going again, but he's nearly a minute off the race leader. And to really drive it home for the Porsche Racing Group, it's 9th place for Julo, taking 2 points a day, 10th for Giroudi, double points for FVR as well. That's going to help them in what could be a relegation struggle for the team. The WTEC's 11th and 13th. Sobel splits them. Terrible performance for him in the BFX. He's stopped spending his tokens now. Just got 2 left to spend in the season. Spent 9 already in the first 3 races. And without those tokens, he is lost. It's a terrible showing for the BFX team today. 6th and 12th. Kumo in 14th place ahead of Vlanlater. Then it's Hernandi and Applamazing. It's Kamikaze and Ikolowski in pit crew. Did not have the pace today. He's finished behind both of the Fuerza Rojas. I really hope you've enjoyed this race. I think it was a banger. Lots of battling, lots of overtaking, lots of drama. We'll see you next time for round 5 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. But for now, bye-bye.